The House passes a bill in nearly unanimous support for the protection of Tibetans at the hands of the communist Chinese government. One America's Pearson explains how the legislation seeks strict sanctions against China for violating Tibet's human rights.
Tibetan citizens could soon come under the protection of a new bill aimed at guaranteeing their human rights, thanks to overwhelming support from the U.S. House of Representatives. Called the Tibet Policy Support Act of 2019, the new legislation passed the House with 392 votes to 22 on Tuesday. It follows a bill signed all the way back in 2002 with the similar goal of protecting Tibetans from the brutal oppression of the Chinese government. Under the legislation, U.S. policy would recognize the exclusive right of Tibetan religious leaders to determine the next Dalai Lama, the highest and most sacred position in Tibetan Buddhism. Currently, China has reserved the right to pick the next Dalai Lama, a decision many believe is just an excuse to install a puppet who supports the communist Chinese government. However, the new bill would impose harsh sanctions against any Chinese officials who interfere in Tibet's ability to choose their next spiritual leader. The bill also establishes that no Chinese consulate may be built on U.S. soil until a U.S. consulate is first built in the Tibetan capital of Lhasa. Massachusetts Representative Jim McGovern introduced the bill in September and says that while the U.S. is eager for a positive relationship with China, the human rights of the Tibetan people must be respected. Tibet was invaded by China in 1950, with the communist Chinese destroying some 6,000 ancient monasteries, looting and pillaging their priceless artifacts, and torturing and murdering innocent monks and nuns. Ultimately, the Chinese army killed nearly 2 million Tibetans and is actively suppressing the Tibetan culture by restricting their religious freedoms and sending the Dalai Lama into exile. McGovern, the chairman on the Commission on China, explained the human rights violations in Tibet are getting worse and the Chinese government must be held accountable. This latest move comes after President Trump's support for protesters in Hong Kong last year and signals that the United States is willing to stand up to Communist China's oppressive government policies. The bill now heads to the Senate for a vote. Pearson, One America News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.